Focusing on arms and the core, this yoga flow is going to tone and build strength for arm balances. Start in a comfortable seated position. Let the eyes close and start to deeply inhale through the nose and then deeply exhale through the nose. This is your ujjayi breath, your yogi breath that you'll continue throughout the rest of practice. Blink the eyes open and then take the palms to the ground behind your legs, so on either side of your hips. Spread the fingers wide and then press firmly into the ground so your core should really be activating. And then try to lift one foot, then try to lift the other at the same time. Try to lift your seat off of the ground, so the only thing touching should be the hands. And then go ahead and release slowly back down to the ground. Let's make our way onto hands and knees into tabletop position, aligning shoulders directly above the wrists and hips directly above the knees. Find a neutral spine and then extend the right fingertips to the right top corner of the mat and then the left toes to the left back corner of the mat. Find stability and then lift both away from the ground. So extending from fingertip to toe tip in opposite directions. Bird dog pose. Keep holding. And then exhale, bring it down. Let's set up for the other side. So this time left fingertips go to the front left corner of the mat and the right toes go to the back right corner of the mat. Get stable. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and lift both off of the ground, reaching in opposite directions, letting the core stabilize the pose. Inhale. And the exhale brings us back down. Briefly come back into your tabletop, but this time we're going to tuck the toes and lift the knees about 2 inches above the mat. So we're just hovering here. Deep inhale through the nose, and on the exhale, step one foot back and then the other into your plank position. Take a few breaths to tweak your plank. So make sure the fingers are spread wide, the wrists are in line with the shoulders, the neck is neutral, the core is engaged, the quads are engaged, and the heels are reaching back. Hold here for one more breath, and then on the exhale, find your way into downward dog. So lift the hips up and back into an inverted V-shape pose. Keep reaching the chest towards the thighs, feeling a stretch in the shoulders. On the next inhale, shift forward into your plank position, hold, and then exhale, downward dog. Inhale, come forward slowly into plank, and then exhale, use the core to help you get back into downward dog. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale into your plank. And this time, you're going to lift the right foot away from the mat, pointing the toes behind you, and then bend the knee, bringing it as close to that right armpit as possible. And then exhale, extend it out long again. Inhale, bring knee as close to nose as possible, curling through the spine. Exhale, extend it out long. Inhale, this time cross the knee over to the left, trying to get it as far up the left shoulder as possible. Exhale, plant the right foot, find your downward dog. Take a breath, and when you're ready, inhale back into your plank. Lift the left leg and extend, so pointing the left toes back behind you. And then bend the left knee, bringing it in as close to the left armpit as possible. Curl through the spine, use your core, and then exhale, extend out long again. Inhale, take the knee to the nose, curling in. Exhale, extend. Inhale, take left knee to right armpit, still curling through the spine. Exhale, come back through center, find your downward dog one more time. And then bend the knees to the outer edges of the mat, coming into child's pose. So you're just going to sit back onto your heels, extend the arms out long in front of you, and let the forehead rest on the ground. Deep inhale through the nose, deep exhale through the nose, and then slowly start to lift the torso up, but still sitting on the heels, sitting on the shins. We're going to take a few wrist stretches. So we're going to start by rotating the hands out. So thumbs nearest the edges of the mat, and then place the palm on the ground. The farther away the hand is from your body, the more of a stretch it'll be. So you may need to walk them in or out, just depending on how open your wrists are. Remember to keep the fingers spread wide. And then we're going to turn the hands over, so coming up onto the tops of the hands with fingers facing each other, and just to provide a bit of a counter stretch. Feel free again to place a little bit of pressure here into the hands. And then lift away from the ground, and we're just going to start to make wrist circles, so going in whichever direction first. And then reverse your direction. These stretches are great complementary exercises to arm balances. They're going to help strengthen the wrists as well as stretch them out and restore them. So let's make our way back into plank. Set up your foundation and then lower one forearm down to the ground and then the other into forearm plank. Both arms should be at 90 degrees. And then one arm at a time, lift back up. Starting with the opposite arm, we're going to lower down into forearm plank, and then opposite arm, rise back up into traditional plank. Switch it again, lowering down, forearm plank. Inhale, come back up into plank. Use your core, lower back down into forearm plank. Slow and steady, rise back up, plank pose. Last round, lower down, forearm plank. Inhale, come back up, plank pose. Check that alignment again. Hold here. And then take the knees to the ground, bend the elbows in towards the ribs, lower the torso down to the ground. Taking Sphinx pose, you're going to bring the arms to a 90-degree angle with forearms on the ground, fingers spread wide, the shoulders draw back. We're on the tops of the feet here, and gaze is forward. So you should really start to feel a stretch in the core that you've worked thus far. Inhale deeply through the nose. And then exhale, look down and bring the palms directly below the shoulders. Tuck the toes, lift the chest away from the ground, lift the hips up and back into your downward dog. Take a breath here, and then slowly and using your core, start to walk your feet towards the front of the mat until you find yourself in forward fold. When you're there, take a slight micro bend in the knees. Let the head hang heavy. And then inhale, rise all the way up, hinging at the hips, arms reach up towards the sky. And then exhale, the palms come to touch at heart center. Start to sink the hips deeply, almost as if you're coming into chair, but we're going to lower all the way down into a seated position, but use the core to get you there. Once you're there, start to prepare for boat pose. So extend through the torso, getting a long spine, and then whenever you're ready, start to lean back and lift the feet off of the ground. The knees can come to bend. The arms reach out and slightly forward. Keep breathing. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And then slowly bring the feet down, bring the soles of the feet to touch, letting the knees spread wide, coming into Baddha Konasana. Feel free to fold over the legs here, just releasing. And then rise back up, set up again for your boat pose. And then lift the feet off of the ground, extend the legs, reach the arms out, hold. Inhale. And then exhale, take the feet to the ground. Take a moment to reset. And then whenever you're ready, find your way back into your boat pose. Inhale. And then exhale, take it down. Shift the hips back, straightening the legs out long, flex the toes, bring the palms to either side of the hips, pressing into the mat, and then start to lift your right heel up off of the ground, and then back down, and then lift your left heel off of the ground, back down, lift the right leg again, reaching it as high as you can, and back down, left leg again as high as you can, back down. One last round, the right leg lifts, back down, left leg reach it up, and back down. Bend the knees just enough so that the entire sole of the foot can rest on the ground. Keep the hands planted where they are beside the hips, spreading the fingers wide, and shift the hips forward. Lift the hips slightly above the ground, and then we're going to shift them back between our arms, straightening the legs. So you may need to take a wider stance with the hands. And then inhale, shift the hips forward and up into almost a reverse tabletop. And then exhale, drop the hips, shift them back without letting the butt touch the ground. So you're really going to have to engage the core to do this. And then inhale, shift forward, lift the hips just a little bit more. Exhale, shift back, straightening the legs, flexing the feet. Inhale, come forward one last time. And then exhale, extend back one last time. Shift the hips forward, but this time come down to a seated position. The knees are bent with the soles of the feet on the ground. Extend the arms out long in front of you and slowly roll down one vertebra at a time. So engage the core. When you're on your back, extend the legs out long. Let the arms rest beside you with the palms facing up, coming into Shavasana, final resting pose. Make any adjustments that may help make this pose a little more comfortable, a little more relaxing. Let the breath return to autopilot. Take as much time as you need in Shavasana, and when you're ready, roll over onto one side, pushing your way up into a seated position. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Open the mouth. Exhale it all out. Inhale again deeply through the nose. Open the mouth. Exhale it all out. Thank you so much for practicing. Namaste.